What do you have to do to get into the Panthéon in Paris?
Technically, you could buy a ticket, but that's not what I'm talking about.
As is engraved in the monument's facade, the Panthéon houses the remains of great men who have earned national recognition.
The building, which began construction in 1758, was originally intended as a church dedicated to Sainte Geneviève, the patron saint of Paris.
But as it neared completion, the French Revolution broke out, and in 1791, the Assemblée Nationale decided to turn it into a secular temple to honor the memory of France's new Republican heroes. Of the 300 places in the crypt, less than 100 are occupied, mostly by men. Those honored include writers, politicians, scientists, artists, and more recently, resistance fighters. In 2021, the Panthéon honored dancer and resistance agent Josephine Baker, the first woman to be individually inducted without her spouse or colleague, and the first Black woman to receive this honor. An Armenian poet and resistance fighter, Misak Manouchian, recently became the first foreigner inducted into the Panthéon, alongside his wife, Méline, exactly 80 years after his execution by the Nazis.
So, who decides on who enters the Panthéon?
Originally, members of parliament decided. Then, for some time, it was Napoleon. Today, it's the French president who decides.
There isn't an exact text that states what you have to do to be Pantheonized. However, some implicit criteria does exist. Someone who has an exemplary character, who embodies the values of the French Republic, and whose work echoes the president's values.
It's also possible to be inducted into the Panthéon without being buried in the crypt. This is the case for poet Aimé Césaire and resistance fighter Geneviève de Gaulle-Antonios.
But individuals or their families can also reject being Pantheonized.
This was the case in 2009, when President Nicolas Sarkozy asked for the remains of the writer Albert Camus to be transferred there.